Let the room grow quiet again, like water after a single slow ripple. If it feels comfortable, return to a soft breathing rhythm. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you exhale, imagine an unnecessary layer sliding away, leaving the body tidy, warm, and enough. In laboratories, people love repetition. Repetition is how something becomes trustworthy, just as steady breaths become a calming background. If a signal truly exists, it often likes to come back in familiar ways, similar time, similar shape, or at least within a pattern that can be anticipated. If it changes, if it plays by the quirks of an instrument or the room, it tells a different story. A story about noise, conditions, and the little footprints of a system. Either story is useful, and tonight, both stories are equally gentle. You can let the pillow support your neck in a position that's half a centimeter more natural, unhurried. Allow the chin to settle into neutral, no lifting, no pressing down. Somewhere behind the eyes, the parts of the brain that keep watch on the environment register 3 simple words: dark, quiet, regular. Those 3 are enough for the body to wind down daytime tasks. Dark, so the inner clock recognizes the night. Quiet, so the guard systems lower their stance. Regular, so heart and lungs choose a slower lane. When someone says origin from Mars, the quiet thing research teams often do first is check direction. An antenna, a sensor, can accidentally hear something closer, like a reflection from Earth. They compare times, angles, side channels, and contextual measurements. This cross-check is not dramatic. It's like smoothing a blanket one corner, then the other until the creases disappear on their own. The feeling it brings is not excitement, but neatness. If a thought about tomorrow passes by, let it go like a cloud. Return to the sensation of air entering at the nostrils, a little cooler, and leaving warmer, longer. Listen for the smallest sound in the room, perhaps the fan, a soft settling of wood, or the sound of your own breath. These small sounds are gentle timestamps, and each timestamp is one step down into quiet. In data work, analysts sometimes use windows opening a small span to look more closely. Changing window size changes the detail. A wide window shows the shape, a narrow window shows the thread. The mind also has windows. If it opens too wide and sees too much, you can close it a little. See only the breath, only the contact points between body and support, only the comfortable darkness behind the eyelids. A window that fits helps everything soften. Invite a round of micro-release, hairline, forehead, the space between the brows, eye sockets, cheekbones, the sides of the nose, corners of the lips, jaw, neck. At each place, lower effort by one imaginary unit. Then shoulders, upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, hands, every finger. The chest floats lightly, ribs drift. Upper back, mid-back, lower back, each part heavier by half a grain of sand. Belly soft, hips safe, thighs easy, knees quiet, shins released, feet fall asleep first. If the mind returns to the words 3I or Atlas, keep them as placeholders. A label doesn't give a result, it simply lets people refer to the same box. Like writing "look later" on a little carton on a shelf. The box sits there, neat and closed. Tonight, the open box is rest, and it is already open. Within each breath, there is a curve, a gentle rise, a longer glide. If you like, imagine that curve drawn in faint ink on a large page. With every breath, another faint line appears, and the page becomes a field of tiny, even ripples. No sharp peaks, no hard edges. The lines blur into a soft surface. The mind passes over it like fingertips over velvet. Science sometimes meets false signals, shapes that look meaningful but come from the measuring process itself. There is nothing frightening about the word false. It simply reminds us that complex systems have their own habits. You might smile at the thought, even machines have moods, temperature, humidity, crosstalk, algorithms. Patience is core there. So we are patient with ourselves too. If sleep takes its time, that isn't a failure. It's just the rhythm of tonight. Try another breath tempo if the body wishes. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If it feels long, return to in for 4, out for 5. There is no standard imposed, only the standard of ease. Where it's calm, it's right. Perhaps your eyelids feel a little heavier. Perhaps the skin around the temples softens like warm wax. Perhaps the bridge of the nose no longer asks for adjustments. These small changes are the language of the autonomic nervous system when it notes, we are shifting. The change doesn't need a slogan. It's a dimmer switch, sliding down. If an image of the Martian surface appears red soil, stones, thin sky, let it remain far, small, and kind, like a postcard on a shelf. The measurements, frequency bands, and analytic pipelines, those belong on the other side of the workday door. On this side is a dark room and your own quiet sound. Let the belly round on the inhale and settle softly on the exhale. It's like a small cushion slowly inflating and deflating, a gentle rocking. In that rocking, the heart often chooses a number a few beats lower than during wakefulness. No need to count. Simply trust that the body keeps its own clock, and the clock knows the hour. In analysis, people sometimes exclude, turning off channels, removing steps, changing parameters to see what remains. Tonight we exclude too. We dim the lights, quiet conversation, place the phone away, and leave only the essentials for rest. Breath, support, comfortable warmth, sufficient darkness. When the extras are removed, what needs to arrive often does. If the jaw still holds a little work, imagine placing a tiny cloud between the teeth, soft and light. Each side floats apart by the thickness of that cloud. The tongue finds an easy resting place, on the floor or the roof of the mouth, anywhere it prefers. The throat is a quiet hallway where air passes without needing a welcome. You may hear a pause behind each sentence. In that pause, the body completes things you do not need to think about: balancing temperature, redistributing blood flow, adjusting chemistry toward recovery. These are like the backstage crew working in the dark, so the stage looks beautiful tomorrow. You don't need to name them, you only need to offer them an empty theater, and you have. If any sudden edges from the day remain, place them on a tray of dry sand. The sand absorbs the angles, turning them into curves. Then a light wind, your long exhale, passes over and smooths the marks away. The body can do this, turning edges to soft lines. Every breath is a small wind. Invite one more friendly check. Between the shoulder blades, is any string still pulling? If so, loosen one notch. At the back where it meets the mattress, is there a spot that wants a little warmth? If so, allow yourself to imagine that warmth, and often imagination, is enough for the body to respond. In the thighs and hips, is there a part that wants to sit down deeper into the support beneath? Allow weight to do it for you. In research, one habit repeats. Keep a log small, steady, honest. Tonight, the body also writes a log in signals: breath slowing, muscles relaxing, heart smoothing. When these lines are long enough, a new chapter opens, the chapter of deeper sleep. You don't have to turn the page. The page turns itself when there are enough lines. Let this voice drop by another half step, and slow by another half beat. The spaces between sentences will stretch longer, giving you the chance to slip through them like a narrow door into warm darkness. If you drift and miss the words, let yourself miss them. That is the right way to listen to a talk made for sleep. If you return, the same rhythm will be here, in and out, once more and once more. When the nervous system stores enough calm data, long exhale, relaxed musculature, low light, distant sound, it selects a threshold and passes it. No command, no announcement. Like a screen dimming, a curtain falling, a score fading. In science, people call that moment a state transition. At night, we call it sleep. Either name, both are ways the world continues its work, restoring, sorting, consolidating, setting the table for tomorrow. If you wish, one final cycle before everything runs on its own. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And once again, now, no more counting. Let the body find its pace, the way the sea finds its own oscillation. You rest in a safe room, and out there, the long questions are happy to wait. Tonight, there is just one small answer. Enough. Let the quiet widen for a moment, like a hallway that grows longer each time you walk it at night. If it's comfortable, breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As the exhale lengthens, imagine that hallway dimming one more notch, the floor soft underfoot, the walls smooth and still. You are here, and here is enough. Somewhere far outside the room, there is a phrase people use, candidate signal, a gentle way to say, we noticed a shape. We're not sure what it means yet. Tonight we practice that same gentleness with thoughts. We noticed one. We are not sure what it means. We can let it drift. The body likes this pace. It recognizes low demand and responds with lower effort. The jaw can loosen by a fraction of a millimeter. The shoulders can release by the weight of a folded note. The eyes can grow heavier by the thickness of a falling hush. If you'd like, place one hand over the belly again and feel the lift on the inhale, the slow coast on the exhale. There is nothing to correct. A rhythm that keeps returning will keep supporting you. Analysts often ask a quiet question, does it repeat? If it does, they lean in. If it doesn't, they still learn. Here, the breath repeats, and we lean into it. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then allow the numbers to fade into ordinary breathing, the way distant city lights fade when a cloud slides across the sky. In that dimmer space, the nervous system does its bookkeeping, marking small lines in its log, loosened jaw, slower heart, quieter room. Each line is a vote for rest, and the votes collect without noise. Imagine a night lab where someone taps the keyboard and changes the view, from raw trace to filtered trace, from one frequency band to another. A ridge that looked sharp becomes a low hill. A hill becomes a nearly flat plain. No disappointment, just more seeing. The mind can do that too. If a memory stands out sharp at the edges, you can change the view. You can widen the window until the memory is only a soft shape among many soft shapes. You can narrow the window until only breath remains, an even curve rising and falling. Either way the edge is dull, either way the field grows smooth. Allow the tongue to rest where it wishes. Allow the lips to meet lightly or part slightly. Allow the throat to feel like a quiet corridor where air passes and is welcomed by silence. If a new idea shows up and tries to tell you a story, let the story speak in slow motion, syllables stretched like salt on warm water. Then let the story trail off into a pause, and let the pause be the end. Not every thread needs tying. Not every pattern needs naming. In research, a label like 3i is a bookmark, not a verdict. In rest, a thought is a bookmark too. You can place it and close the book. The page will be there tomorrow. Tonight we practice the lightness of closure without conclusion. The book closes, the lamp dims, the breath goes on. If you want, soften the space at the base of the skull by a small degree, as if the head could set itself down more fully. Soften the small muscles around the ears, soften the tiny bridge across the back of the neck. Small changes, real signals ones the body trusts. Now, a microscan without hurry. Crown of the head, smooth. Forehead smooth. The tiny valley between the brows, smooth. The orbits of the eyes, warm and still. The cheeks, heavy by a whisper. The corners of the lips, easy. The tongue, settled. The jaw, released. The throat, open enough. The collarbones, quiet. The shoulders, lower by a breath. The upper arms, heavy. The elbows, simply there. The forearms, warm. The wrists, still. The palms, heavier than they look. Fingers, restful. The chest rises as a small boat. The ribs drift. The upper back rests. The middle back sinks. The lower back arrives. The belly loosens. The hips accept. The thighs agree. The knees retire from their daytime job. The shins do nothing. The ankles do nothing. The feet, as usual, fall asleep first. Let this be ordinary. Let ordinary be beautiful. Somewhere, a team asks if a pattern could be reflected from Earth, or shaped by a cable, or born in software. They do not hurry the answer, because rushing makes patterns look sharper than they are. Without hurry, things take their true shapes. Without hurry, breath finds the long exhale on its own. If you notice any small clutch of effort between the shoulder blades, in the lower back, around the hip flexors, invite weight to do what weight does, to travel down and spread out, to let the surface beneath you carry a little more. There is no contest between muscles and gravity tonight. Gravity wins. Muscles enjoy losing. If cool air touches the nostrils, let it be a marker, like a lighthouse beam that keeps passing the same point. If a distant sound repeats a fan, a refrigerator, a soft night hum, let it be the percussion section of a very slow song. If there is a momentary creak in the house, let it be a solo note. Brief, then gone. The nervous system listens. You can reassure it with the simplest message. We remain safe. Safety is not a sentence in the mind. It is a set of signals in the body. Darkness, steadiness, warmth, softness, breath. Each one arrives silently and sits down beside you. Analysts also perform null tests. They remove the part where a signal might live to see if anything is left. You can do a gentle version. Remove any extra detail from the mind for one breath. No names, no places, no lists. Just air moving, belly lifting, belly settling. What remains is the floor of rest. Very plain and very sufficient. Then, if a detail returns, that is fine. The floor stays. The floor of rest is not jealous. It holds you while thoughts come and go. Sometimes you'll notice nothing at all, and that is also something, an open field in which the body does its quiet work, rerouting blood to tissues that rebuild, adjusting temperature and hormone rhythms, filing memories the way a careful hand files paper into folders. None of this requires attention. It proceeds like rain in the dark. If you feel a need to adjust position, do it in the slowest possible way, like turning a page with gloves of velvet. A small tilt of the pelvis, a small slide of the shoulder, a small reset of the pillow, then stillness again. With each return to stillness, the body registers lower threat, and the spiral down continues. Thoughts might tap on the glass. Something about Mars, something about signals, something about tomorrow's clock. Tap, 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 and then the tapping stops because you did not answer the door. This is not ignoring. It's choosing to host only the guest who breathes quietly. A brief breath cue, if you wish. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let the exhale feel like a long hallway with a soft carpet, and you are gliding down it in socks, slowing without trying. Then release, counting. The room holds you, the bed holds you, the breath holds you. Each one makes a promise without words. I will continue if you drift. That is enough permission to drift. In the background of space science, there is always the possibility that a curious pattern settles into something familiar over time. Dust, weather, software, calibration, like seeing a shape in clouds that dissolves when the wind shifts. No loss, only clarity. Clarity often arrives quietly, and quiet is the place we are making. We are not seeking fireworks. We are seeking a steady dim, like the light under a door when the rest of the house sleeps. Imagine that dimness spreading a little, across the floor, up the walls, into the ceiling, over the furniture, over the skin, under the skin. Imagine that dimness pooling around the ankles, the knees, the hips, the shoulders, the eyes. Darkness is not empty. It is full of signals that say, safe now. If you like, offer a small kindness to each breath, an unspoken greeting as it comes in, a soft thank you as it goes out. Breaths are visitors that never ask for anything and leave gifts. They bring oxygen, they carry away what you no longer need, they signal to heart and brain that nighttime processes may begin. You can be hospitable without working. A hospitable house does not perform, it simply opens the door and has chairs waiting. The chairs are here, you are seated, the conversation is silence. Let's soften the wrists and ankles once more, as if tiny invisible bracelets could slide off and fall onto the table without a sound. Let's soften the contact points with the surface beneath you. The back of the head, the shoulder blades, the elbows if they touch, the rib cage, the pelvis, the thighs, the calves, the heels. Contact is information, and the information tonight is supported. Supported bodies release old reflexes. When a reflex eases, other processes can proceed. The body remembers how to sleep. It is as native to you as your name. If the eyes want to float upward behind the lids, into the space where dreams begin, let them. If they want to rest downward, let them. If they want to lose their position entirely and just be weightless spheres in their sockets, let them. Behind them lies a wide, dark meadow where thoughts graze slowly until they wander beyond the fence and disappear. That fence is not a rule, it's a suggestion made of comfort. Comfort suggests you agree without speaking. There is a quiet experiment you can run. Say nothing inside for 2 breaths and listen only to the sound of air. Then let a single word form on the next exhale, something like soft or easy or rest, as a shape rather than a command. Watch how the body responds not to the meaning but to the tone. Tones matter. The tone tonight is low, slow, forgiving. The body hears tone more clearly than it hears meaning. That is why lullabies work in languages a baby does not understand. That is why this slow voice can step back and still be heard as a shape, not as an instruction manual. Shapes are easy to follow in the dark. In another room, the imaginary lab lights flicker lower. Someone logs the time and writes, "No conclusion yet." That line is a kindness to the future. It leaves space for the next look. No conclusion yet is also kindness to the present. It takes away urgency. Take that line for yourself. No conclusion yet. The day can remain unfinished without being wrong. Unfinished things rest too. When the day rests, the night can proceed at its own speed, which is slower than walking and faster than drifting, which is to say, exactly right. If you want, breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Feel the way the long exhale lays the body down, like a book laid spine first on a shelf. One more time if it helps, and then release. The breath will roll itself along now. Your part is only to allow. Allowing is not doing nothing. It is trusting good processes to run without micromanagement. Sleep is one of those processes. You do not need to supervise. You get to clock out. Picture a simple, steady scene. A quiet desk, a closed notebook with a pencil resting across it, a small label on the spine. 3 I divided by check later. The label is small, the room is large. The air moves a little. The chair is pushed in. The lamp is off. This picture does not need you, and you do not need it. You are in a different picture now. A bed, a blanket, darkness, breath. The scene does not ask for a plot. It invites you to dissolve into it, like sugar into warm tea. No stirring required. Time does the stirring. A last micro-release tour, barely more than a whisper. Between the eyebrows, smooth. Around the eyes, soothed. The hinge of the jaw, slack. The base of the tongue, easy. The back of the neck, heavy. The shoulders, wide. The hands, quiet. The belly, allowed. The hips, settled. The legs, warm. The soles, cooled by the air. The toes, uncounted. You might notice the distance between breaths widening, or the border between thoughts loosening, or sounds sinking into a lower floor of hearing. That change has no name you need to remember. The body knows it as a threshold, and thresholds are meant to be crossed. If, at any point, you no longer follow these words, that is perfect. If you find yourself returning after a drift, that is perfect too. Either path keeps you close to the simple project of this night, to let the body do what it has practiced since before you learned a single word. To do that, we keep doing less. Less thinking, less holding, less directing, more quiet, more softness, more length to the out-breath. The out-breath is the closing door of each moment. Doors close, rooms deepen. Night gathers around you like a slow tide, climbing only as high as you allow and bringing with it the cool, steady quiet that sleep likes to live in. Now the voice steps back one more pace. The pauses widen so you can pass through them without noticing. In and out. A gentle rise, a longer glide, and again, and again. Whatever arrives from far places can pause at the doorstep until morning. What remains inside is this: a safe room, a steady bed, a body that remembers, a breath that continues. There is nothing to fix, nothing to finish, nothing to fear, only the simple, patient transition into deeper rest. If it comes now, welcome it. If it waits, we will keep company with the breath until the dimmer slides all the way down. Either way, you are already most of the way there. Let the hush return like a tide that remembers the shape of the shore. If it feels easy, breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With each long exhale, the edges of the day blur a little more, like chalk softened by the rain. Somewhere out beyond the windows, questions continue their quiet orbit, but here inside, answers have nothing urgent to do. The body hears this and lowers its voice. Joints stop whispering for adjustments. Muscles stand down. The room grows intentional in its simplicity. If you'd like, place attention at the base of the skull and give that place a permission slip, heavier, by one small degree. Then the space behind the eyes, another degree. Then the corners of the jaw, another. These are not orders, they are invitations. The body often accepts invitations more readily than commands. In laboratories, invitations take the form of tests that ask, what if we remove this? What if we add that? In rest, our test is simpler. What happens when we lengthen the exhale? We find that tension has fewer reasons to stay. Picture a quiet console, the night shift desk of an imaginary listening post. On the screen, a line that used to twitch now drifts with a steadier hand. The operator writes 2 words, hold steady. You may borrow those words. Hold steady does not mean hold tight. It means allow this moment to continue being itself without trying to polish it. The breath is already polishing what needs smoothing. If a thought arrives wearing important clothes tomorrow's plan, yesterday's scene, let it check its coat by the door. Thoughts without coats feel less formal, easier to ignore. You can let them wander around the foyer while you step deeper into the house of night. In that house, there is a long hallway of soft carpet and a series of rooms that are all shadows and comfort. Your steps leave no sound there, and you arrive where all the furniture is rest. A brief scan, simple as setting a table. Crown of the head placed, forehead unfurrowed, between the brows wide enough for the next breath to pass through, eyes floating in quiet orbits, cheeks weighted by a soft hush, lips neither closed nor open, simply easy, tongue resting with nothing to do, jaw hinges released, throat clear corridor, collarbones still, shoulders slid down a notch, upper arms surrendered, elbows content, forearms warm, wrists unclasped, palms heavier than before, fingers accounted for and off duty. Chest rises, ribs ride along, upper back arrives, middle back arrives deeper, lower back arrives deeper still, belly allowed, hips anchored, thighs held by the bed like pages by a bookend, knees quiet, shins quiet, ankles quiet, feet already gone ahead into sleep. If any small pocket of alertness lingers, imagine giving it a chair in the corner with a thick blanket and a little sign that says, you can rest here too. Alertness often relaxes when it has a sanctioned seat. Meanwhile, the rest of you follows the long slope of the exhale. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then release the numbers. The rhythm knows its way home. Somewhere in the background, the words instrument response and calibration drift exist, not as worries, but as reminders that tools learn their environment over time. The body is also a tool learning its environment. Each night it updates a quiet table. How dark is dark, how still is still, what breath length makes sleep wave back. Your system is calibrating gently now, using the data of softness, the data of warmth, the data of nothing pressing. This calibration does not require your attention. It happens in the same place that a lullaby lives when you stop listening to the lyrics and only hear the sway. If a doorway between wake and sleep could be measured, it might look like a small lowering of the eyes behind closed lids, a small lengthening between breaths, a small indifference to the next sentence. The doorway is here. You do not have to walk through it in a straight line. You can circle the mat, feel the fiber under your feet, and then find yourself past it without remembering the step. Let's invite a different kind of quiet, the quiet that comes from not finishing thoughts. Begin one silently, tomorrow I should, and let the sentence taper into the softest ellipsis. The nervous system often respects unfinished shapes at night. Unfinished things do not ring like bells. They fold into the mattress and become part of the support. The mind will let them rest if you let the breath keep its long exit. If your posture wants to shift, imagine moving like a slow pendulum in thick air. The smallest swing, then stillness. Another small swing, then stillness. Pendulums do not argue with gravity. They agree and return to center. The body returns to center, and the center tonight is wherever breath feels effortless. The imaginary lab posts another note. Coincidence with background likely. A tidy way of saying, the shape resembles many ordinary shapes and therefore deserves no alarm. Ordinary is our goal here. Ordinary breath, ordinary warmth, ordinary darkness. The kind of ordinary that is so even, it becomes beautiful. Beauty, when made of evenness, does not ask for attention. It pulls you down like a gentle current in a lake at night, safe and consistent. Place, if you like, a warm stone of attention on the abdomen again. Feel the stone rise slowly and sink slowly. This movement is older than language. It does not need you to narrate it. You can let the narrator sleep while the movement continues. In older places of the brain, a clock ticks that does not care about minutes, only about patterns. When patterns settle, that clock rings a bell you cannot hear, and doors open inside you that have always known how to open. A micro tour for the face. Smooth the forehead as if a soft thumb passed once across it. Let the eyebrows find a neutral arc. Let the eyelids grow heavier by the weight of a single quiet word. Let the cheeks expand by a fraction on the inhale. Let the lips forget they are lips and become simply lines. Let the jaw fall into whatever socket angle means nothing to do. Then the neck. A column that does not need to hold a crown tonight, only a head full of dark meadow. At the base of the neck, widen the space by a breath's width. That is enough. If you notice the room's smallest sounds, the air system, the night insect, the low city hum, treat them as distant buoys marking safe water. Boys do not chase boats. They simply say, when you are near, you are still safe. You can drift between them, eyes closed, steering by nothing. Drifting is a valid direction here. Sometimes the mind tries a last negotiation. After I figure out this one thing, and you can offer a kinder trade. Let the breath figure it out. Let the body hold the pencil and fill the page with slow loops the way a child learns cursive repeating shapes until meaning doesn't matter and the hand relaxes into rhythm. Your breath is already writing that page, long loop after long loop. The page will be full when it is full, and you will not be asked to sign it. If any image of Mars returns small, red, a postcard, let it hang on a far wall under a cloth. Covered pictures do not call for attention. The cloth is the length of your exhale. When the exhale ends, the picture is just a shape in shadow. There is nothing to see and no reason to look. A short cue if useful. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Feel the soft slope of the out-breath carry you like a sled sliding over velvet. Then stop counting and let gravity do the rest. Gravity loves you in the exact way rest requires. It holds you without asking anything back. Now imagine the contact points along your back as islands in a dark archipelago. One by one, the islands grow larger, connected by causeways of comfort. The back of the head joins the shoulder blades, which join the ribs, which join the pelvis, which join the thighs, which join the calves, which join the heels. Soon there is not an archipelago but a continent of support, and you are its quiet capital. Capitals sleep too, lights dimmed to embers, streets empty, fountains running in slow motion. If language wants to thin out, let it. If you begin to feel the space between words like soft rooms you could sit in, do that. Sit and listen to the hush inside the hush. That inner hush is old and kind. It does not list, it does not grade, it does not plan. It is an atmosphere that says, you can sleep here, and the body believes atmosphere more than promises. We will do one last inventory in a whisper. Eyes heavy, jaw loose, shoulders low, hands warm, belly soft, hips settled, legs quiet, feet gone. If any item resists, we leave it alone. Resistance fades faster when ignored at this hour. The nervous system will complete the checklist without you. And now the voice tilts farther away, like a lantern carried down a path until it is only a coin of light, and then not even that. What remains is a room that holds, a bed that holds, a breath that keeps arriving and leaving in good time. Whatever the world listens for out there can wait. Whatever you listened for in here has been heard. The message is simple and repeating. Safe now, long exhale, let go. If sleep comes as a tide, let it lift you. If it comes as a door, let it close softly behind you. If it comes as a dark field, walk 3 steps into it and forget the path. Either way, the way is simple. Either way you are carried. Let the quiet settle the way dust settles in a sunbeam, slowly, evenly, until the air looks like velvet. If it helps, begin with 1 gentle cycle. Breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Imagine the out-breath laying a soft cover across the room, tucking the corners in a little more each time. There is nowhere to go. The going is already done. Only arriving remains, and arriving happens by itself when we stop walking. If a leftover thought circles like a moth at the window, turn the lamp a notch lower. Moths quiet down when the light softens. Many systems do. In laboratories, sensors often behave better under stable, dim conditions, less thermal drift, fewer sudden spikes. The body appreciates the same. Dimness is a signal that nothing urgent is required. A dim place invites the nervous system to reread the night's instructions. Longer exhale, lower vigilance, easier muscles, steadier heart. The reading takes no effort. It's like osmosis comfort passing through the skin. Let the back of the head grow a fraction heavier. Let the space behind the eyes feel like a slate wiped clean with a soft cloth. Let the jaw unhook by the width of a tiny cloud. If you like, picture a thin string tied to the center of your chest, and with each out-breath that string slackens, loosening some invisible knot beneath the sternum. Down the spine, small chambers open like drawers that needed only a touch to slide. Nothing inside needs sorting tonight. Closed drawers can rest. Open drawers can rest. Rest does not require tidiness. It creates it. If the mind brings up the phrase, signal candidate, let the phrase be a feather. Feathers don't demand definitions at midnight. A pattern can be seen without being named. A question can be held without being answered. Holding gently is, in itself, a calming pattern. Inhale, gather, exhale, soften around what you gathered. That's all. The pattern repeats, and repeating patterns tell the older brain, you may stand down. A micro-tour in half light, hairline easy, forehead uncreased, the small valley between the brows broad enough for air to pass. Eyelids heavier by the weight of a quiet word, eyes floating without task, cheeks slack as warm wax, lips unworked, tongue placed, content, jaw on its small hinges, idle, throat a hush of corridor, collarbones resting like brackets around nothing heavy, shoulders poured down and wide, upper arms sinking, elbows simply there, forearms warm as if cupped in velvet, wrists declasped, hands weighted, fingers counted and released, chest rising, a low swell, ribs, passengers, upper back present, mid-back present deeper, lower back fully arrived, belly soft enough to move without permission, hips accepted by the surface beneath, thighs lengthened, knees retired, shins and calves off duty, ankles quiet, feet already lost to warm darkness. Somewhere, the imaginary console displays 2 lines, the background trace and the small, perhaps meaningful shape. Over hours, the two begin to resemble each other until the difference falls below curiosity. The operator types, consistent with background. That sentence is not a defeat. It is peace. Many things belong to the background, and the background is where ease comes from. Let background win here. The background hum of the room, the background rhythm of breath, the background warmth of bedding. When background wins, foreground rests. If the need to adjust position appears, do it as if you were moving inside a slow dream barely enough to register, then still again. A tilt of the pelvis that lets the lower back lay flatter. A slight roll of one shoulder blade so it meets the mattress with more surface, less point. A centimeter of pillow shift to cradle the neck just so. Then stillness, as if the room itself asked for silence, and you agreed with a nod. Offer one breath with numbers, then let the numbers go. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As the exhale ends, imagine the last bit of air coasting out like a boat that glides the final inches to the dock and meets the bumper without a sound. The rope is already looped. The boat will not drift away. If a memory appears with bright edges, blur it by increasing the distance. You can place it on a far shelf in a large, dark library. The book closes. The aisle is quiet. Dust moves in a slow column of air. Your seat is a deep chair that takes your weight without complaint. You are not the librarian tonight. You are the one who naps between chapters. Let's visit the wrists and ankles again, places where tiny guards sometimes stay awake. Tell them there are night shift replacements, gravity and warmth. Gravity will hold. Warmth will cover. The guards may clock out. If they hesitate, place an imaginary blanket over each joint, a small folded square that says, "Off duty." The phrase "off duty" is a lullaby in plain clothes. There is a quiet practice analysts use called sanity checks, simple grounding comparisons that keep interpretations from running ahead. Your sanity checks are even simpler. Is the breath still long on the way out? Yes. Are the shoulders still lower than a minute ago? Yes. Does the bed still hold more than you hold yourself? Yes. That's enough. Each yes is a soft stamp on tonight's passport. With enough stamps, borders fade. If you sense a trace of effort at the base of the tongue, let the tongue ride lower for one breath, then find its own place. If the eyelids feel restless, imagine their undersides brushed once with a soft paintbrush dipped in darkness. If the ears are alert, give them a far horizon to listen to an imagined field at night with a single cricket 2 hills away. The cricket sound is simple and regular, and so far that it becomes part of the sky. Sometimes the mind tries to file one last report. Allow it a single line, no action needed. Stamp it with the date of tonight, and place it in an outbox that empties itself at dawn. The outbox is not your concern. The outbox belongs to morning. Morning is a person you don't live with right now. If a picture of Mars returns, let it be small enough to cover with your thumb. Hold your thumb up in the theater of your mind and hide the red circle behind it. When you lower your thumb, keep the circle hidden anyway. Some scenes are restful when hidden. The hidden scene becomes only a suggestion, like music heard through a wall, present, shapeless, harmless. Another small scan, this time from ground to sky. Soles cooled by the air, heels nested, calves hollowed out and at ease, knees unlatched, thighs heavy as pages glued together, hips anchored, not pinned, lower belly soft as a low tide, ribs widening without trying, sternum floating, collarbones quiet, throat open enough, jaw unworked, lips resting, cheeks warm, eyes heavy, forehead smooth, crown quietly aware of nothing. Let this list fade as quickly as it formed, like chalk erased with one slow swipe. In the imagined lab, a second operator relieves the first. The entries in the logbook are plain: checked references, changed window size, pattern reduced, continue in the morning. Plainness is kind. Make a plain log for your body. Breathed slowly, relaxed jaw, lowered shoulders, nothing urgent. When the list is plain and short, the nervous system stops asking for more lines. It closes the book. A brief cue, if welcome, in for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Long exhale signals softness at every level. Then no numbers. The breath will continue. It knows where to find you. Let the bed become a map of quiet territories, and let your weight be the cartographer's pencil shading them in. The darkest shading is under the pelvis and shoulder blades, the medium shade along the spine, the light shade at the calves and heels. As the shading deepens, borders blur until the whole map is one color. Rest. Maps like this do not need legends or scales. They are understood by lying on them. If language begins to thin, if words arrive like drifting snow, allow them to melt on contact. Meaning can wait. Tone remains, and tone is enough. Low, slow, forgiving. Your body hears tone more readily than it hears meaning. This is why lullabies may work in languages we don't know. The lullaby here is breath and weight, darkness and warmth, the easy rhythm of something ancient doing what it knows. We'll end this section as we began, with a small repetition designed to be forgotten. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once more, if you wish. Then let it go. If sleep comes as a tide, let it lift you. If it comes as a door, let it close behind you with a whisper. If it comes as the lights dimming in a quiet control room, let them dim to black, one by one, until only the soft hum remains, and even that hum blends with the dark. From here, the voice steps back another pace. Sentences grow farther apart, like lanterns down a path, until you stop counting them. Whatever remains unasked will be met by the morning you are not carrying now. What remains here is a room that holds, a surface that supports, a breathing that continues, and a body that remembers. The task is simple. Keep doing less. When nothing more can be let go, the rest will let go of you. Let the quiet settle like evening snow, soundless, soft, gathering where it wishes. If it helps, begin with one slow breath. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Imagine the out-breath smoothing the sheet of the mind, one palm length at a time, until the fabric lies calm and unwrinkled. You are here. Here is enough. If a corner of attention still tilts upward like a leaf in a faint breeze, let the breath be the hand that turns it over. Leaves rest more easily on the darker side. Let your thoughts rest on their darker side too, less detail, more shade. In research rooms, people dim monitors at night so small contrasts stop pretending to be big ones. The body has the same instinct. Soften the contrast, and the edges stop asking to be solved. The nervous system notices this and drifts toward longer exits, lower posture, simpler tasks. Jaw idle, eyes heavier, tongue looser, shoulders down a notch you can barely measure. A slow inventory in the gentlest voice, crown easy, forehead smooth, the bridge between brows unclasped, eyelids weighted by the thickness of a hush, cheeks settling, lips unbusy, tongue asleep without sleeping, jaw floating in its hinges, throat a corridor with no draft, collarbones like quiet brackets, shoulders broad as shoreline, upper arms surrendered, elbows present but effortless, forearms warm, wrists unfastened, palms heavier than before, fingers counted and dismissed, chest a low tide swell, ribs passengers, upper back arrived, mid back arrived deeper, low back set down, belly allowed, hips anchored, thighs long, knees retired, shins quiet, ankles quiet, feet already gone ahead, carrying the first passport stamps of sleep. If the story mind starts another paragraph, let it trail into ellipses, and let the ellipses dissolve into the length of your exhale. Unfinished is friendly at this hour. Unfinished does not ring. In labs, a note that reads, "Review tomorrow," is a kind note. It grants rest without closing the file. Tonight, your file reads, "Review tomorrow." That is enough to let the room get darker by one more shade. Imagine a listening console far away, the faint glow of graphs like constellations on a quiet sea. A ridge that once felt important is now nearly the same color as the background. Someone types, "No deviation of concern." That phrase is a softness. Borrow it. No deviation of concern in the shoulders. No deviation of concern in the jaw. No deviation of concern in the breath. The background steady, warm, simple, can carry the foreground for a while. The foreground agrees. If a small adjustment would help, make it like a tide turning so slowly you feel the decision more than the motion. A centimeter of pillow toward the neck, a tilt of the pelvis to level the low back, a small roll of a shoulder blade to widen the contact, then stillness again, as if silence had asked for a moment to speak and you obliged by not moving. One breath with numbers, then let numbers fade. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Long exhale as a corridor you glide down in socks. At the end of the corridor, there is not a door, just more quiet, and the quiet says, "Continue." Let the face learn a simpler map. Forehead one smooth field, eyes two planets drifting in velvet orbits, cheeks warmed by the thought of warm light, lips the line where inside becomes inside again, Jaw the gate that stays open because nothing needs to pass. At the base of the skull, widen by a breath width. Above the shoulders, widen by a thought width. The neck fits the pillow like the last piece of a gentle puzzle, and nothing about the puzzle needs to be clever. If the mind returns to symbols 3i, Atlas let them be chalk marks on a board that someone erases with a soft felt. The board goes dark, the room goes kinder. Symbols can wait in the tray with the eraser. Breath does not wait. It continues, faithful as small waves. Sometimes the body keeps one tiny guard awake at the wrists or ankles. Let gravity take their shift. Let warmth take their shift. Imagine a folded cloth over each joint, a sign in fabric that reads, off duty. The guards see the sign and yawn. They sit. Their chairs are so comfortable they forget to stand again. This is the science of tone at night, not command, invitation, not force, permission, not effort, inevitability. If attention is tempted by an old brightness tomorrow's time, yesterday's scene, place it behind a gauze curtain in the mind's window. The shapes remain, but the light is filtered to a softness that does not pull. Curtains are not walls. They are agreements with light. Tonight, you and light agree to leave each other alone. A tiny practice, if welcome, for 2 breaths. Do not narrate anything, no sentences inside. Only the sound of air, the cool at the nostrils, the warmth at the exit, the lift of the belly, the ride down. Then, on the 3rd exhale, let a single word form without effort. Soft, or easy, or rest. Not as instruction, but as tone. Bodies respond to tone more than text. The tone is low and patient. The body understands low and patient. In the imagined lab, the night shift flips a page in the logbook. Lines appear in small letters, checked reference, window widened, pattern consistent with ordinary. Plain lines, faithful and unexcited. Plainness works here too. Your plain lines could read, breathed, released jaw, lowered shoulders, felt supported. Nothing dramatic, only true. True is soft at night. If a picture of Mars returns, let it be the color of cooled embers, not flame. Embers are patient. They do not chase anyone. You can view them once, then lay a cloth over the picture so even patience goes to bed. The cloth is the length of your out-breath. With each long breath, the cloth grows heavier, and the picture becomes a shape with no magnetism left. A brief scan from ground to sky. Soles cool, heels nested, calves emptied of script, knees unlatched, thighs warm weight, hips deep in their sockets like stones in a riverbed. Low belly rising, falling, ribs widening, narrowing, sternum floating, collarbones quiet beams, throat open enough, jaw released, lips uninvolved, cheeks quiet, eyes heavy, forehead uncut by lines, crown aware of nothing it needs to keep. The scan is not a test. It is a lullaby sung to each place by naming it once and letting the name dissolve. If your thoughts try to file one last memo, offer them the simplest stamp, no action tonight. Place the memo in an outbox labeled morning. You do not work at the morning office right now. You are a guest of the night. Guests do not file. Guests lie back and let the house take care of them. A small cue, if it suits. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The long exit empties the day a little more, like water leaving a harbor before low tide reveals wider sand. Wider sand is more place to rest. Let the harbor be quiet water. Let the sand be where you set down whatever you still held. Let contact become continent again. Back of head to shoulder blades to ribs, ribs to pelvis, pelvis to thighs, thighs to calves, calves to heels. A chain of support becomes a single plane, and you are its quiet center. Cities sleep on plains, oceans sleep beside them, the sky sleeps over both. You can be a city, an ocean, a sky, names that mean wide enough to hold what I am without hurry. If language thins further words as feathers that barely land, let them drift past without collecting. Meaning can wait. Tone stays. Tone says, low, slow, forgiving. The breath answers, yes, yes, yes. The heart answers by rounding its rhythm. The muscles answer by choosing not to answer at all. We will finish this section by repeating what the older parts of the brain prefer. Sameness that signals safety. One last measured cycle only if you like. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then let counting go as if it were a thread you set down on the windowsill. The window is closed, the thread can rest. From here the voice will fall back another step, as a lantern carried down a path until it is simply a warm suggestion. What stays is the room that holds, the bed that holds, the breath that holds, and the body that remembers. Outside, questions make their slow circles. Inside, answers are allowed to sleep. If sleep arrives now, let it wrap you without announcing itself. If it lingers, we will keep company with the same quiet pattern until the dimmer slides the last notch and the night becomes one piece. Either way, you are already being carried. Let the room dim one more shade, as if the night itself leaned in and whispered, quieter. If it feels easy, begin with a single measured breath. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Picture the out-breath as a soft hand smoothing the edge of a page, turning it without hurry. The page on this side is simpler, fewer lines, more space. The body recognizes space and settles into it the way water finds a hollow. If a thread of thinking tugs once about tomorrow's hour or yesterday's phrase, let it loosen like a knot that slips when you stop pulling. Thoughts often tie themselves to attention. Attention can nod and walk on. You don't need scissors, you need distance. Distance arrives with the long exhale. The exhale is a small tide leaving a quiet cove. Each time it goes, the sand shows a little more, wide and even. Let the back of the head grow heavier by the weight of a gentle word. Let that weight travel down the spine in slow segments. Base of skull, upper back, middle back, lower back, pelvis. Now the weight spreads side to side, a low cloud settling across the ribs and hips, shading everything evenly. Weight is not pressure, it is permission. Permission tells postural muscles not now, and they agree. Imagine an empty control room far away, the glow of instruments lowered to a dusk setting. On the main display, the background line is so smooth that anything that once stood out now looks like part of it. Someone types a small note, within normal night. That phrase is a lullaby in plain clothes. Borrow it. Within normal night for the breath, within normal night for the heart, within normal night for a body remembering how to sink. A slow inventory, softer than a whisper. Crown quiet, forehead smooth as an unmarked slate. Between the brows open by the width of a breath, eyelids weighted, eyes adrift without task, cheeks loosened, lips easy, tongue resting in a place of its own choosing. Jaw hinges idle, throat clear corridor, collarbone still, shoulders lower by a small kindness, upper arms surrendered, elbows present, forearms warm, wrists unclasped, palms heavy, fingers counted and dismissed, chest slow swell, ribs riding, upper back arrived, mid-back arrived deeper, low back arrived fully, belly allowed, hips anchored, thighs long, knees unlatched, shins quiet, ankles quiet, feet already gone ahead into sleep's hallway. If there is a small watchman left at the ankles or wrists, give them a chair and a folded blanket. Say, you can rest here. Guards rest when they are given a seat. Gravity and warmth will walk the perimeter. Gravity never tires. Warmth never rushes. Together they hum the low song that tissues understand. A brief breath cue to lengthen the hallway. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then let counting drift away like numbers chalked on a board that fog softens and the night erases. You are not keeping score. You are letting the game end. If the mind brings back the small label 3i, the tidy letters that mean look later, place the label on a closed notebook and slide the notebook into a drawer. Drawers can rest. Documents can rest. Even curiosity rests. When curiosity sleeps, it dreams in slow pictures with rounded edges. A red ember on a far shelf, a thin line on a screen flattening gently, a hand turning a dimmer down and down until the switch is only felt, not seen. Turn attention to contact the quiet map under you. Where the back of the head meets the pillow, Let the circle of support widen by a finger's width. Where the shoulder blades meet the surface, let the points become planes. Where the pelvis meets the mattress, let the weight spread, not push. Where the thighs, calves, and heels make their small impressions, let those impressions deepen into a single field, an even color called rest. As the field evens out, borders blur. What was you and what was support become one soft solution. If the story mind starts to narrate again, allow it only 3 words on the next exhale, something like soft or easy or rest, a tone more than a message. Tone carries farther in the dark than meaning, the way a lullaby carries when the words are forgotten. Your body hears tone. It answers by lengthening the spaces between things, between breaths, between thoughts, between sounds and their echoes. Space is the element in which sleep forms. A tiny posture check without moving. Imagine a line from the ear through the shoulder through the hip. Wherever the line kinks, picture a warm hand smoothing it from the outside. Do nothing inside. See the line and let the image do the work. Imagery is a tool that uses almost no effort. Night appreciates low-effort tools. So does the nervous system. Effort is a day instrument. If any image of Mars drifts in the small red circle of a world, let it be the color of banked coals, heat without haste. Banked coals don't demand attention, they promise continuity. You can lay a dark cloth over even that glow and watch it shine only as feeling, not as sight. Feeling is closer to sleep than sight is. Sight wakes. Feeling settles. A microscan in reverse, from ground to sky. Soles cool, heels nested, calves empty of script. Knees rested, thighs heavy in a kind way, hips deep in their sockets, stones in a riverbed the river has left for the night, lower belly rising and falling on its own, ribs opening and closing like a door with quiet hinges, sternum floating, collarbones quiet beams, throat open enough, jaw free, lips uninvolved, cheeks warmed, eyes heavy, forehead unfussed, crown aware of nothing it needs to keep. Now a brief practice of not finishing. Begin a sentence silently, tomorrow I will, and let it fall into an ellipsis that becomes the length of your out-breath. Ellipses are rest signs. They ask nothing. They turn paragraphs into pillows. Place the pillow under the remaining edges of thought and let those edges round. Rounded thoughts roll away on their own. If position wants to shift, move like a constellation that changes only over centuries. A tilt barely more than a suggestion. Then stillness again. The body learns that stillness is not a rule but a gift. Gifts do not require thanks. They generate it. Gratitude in the body feels like easier breathing and a quieter heart. Offer one last measured cycle, if it's welcome. In for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Notice how the last part of the exhale coasts. Coasting is what happens when you stop trying to arrive. Arriving happens by itself when effort leaves the room. Picture an inner shoreline at night. Small waves come in with the inhale, lay a thin line of silver, and slide out with the exhale, pulling the day's footprints back into smoothness. After a while, there are no prints, only the even sheen of a shore that has forgotten noon. Forgetting noon is not losing. It is the night's kind of memory, remembering only what helps rest. If the breath pauses naturally after the exhale, let it. That pause is not a gap. It is a soft room with no furniture, the place where muscles decide not to prepare for anything. The pause is a message in the oldest language. Good. It lasts exactly as long as it should. Then the next inhale arrives without being called. Let the wrists and ankles feel as if invisible bracelets and rings have slid off and been placed on a quiet dish by the bed. Jewelry sleeps, so do joints. Let the tongue be heavier, the mouth cooler, the back of the throat smooth. Let the eyes float upward a little, toward the place where images form when you stop volunteering them. If an image comes, let it be dull as felt, slow as smoke, kind as wool. Textures help bodies sleep. Textures speak below words. We will walk one last time through the simplest checklist, not to complete it, but to notice it completes itself. Eyes heavy, jaw loose, shoulders low, hands warm, belly soft, hips settled, legs quiet, feet gone. If any item isn't ready, it will be. Readiness grows in quiet the way moss grows on stone without announcement. Only patience. And now the voice will recede another step, as though carried down a corridor that keeps lengthening, lanterns fewer and farther apart, until you stop watching for them. What remains is the background that has been here all along. The bed holding, the room holding, the breath holding, the body remembering. Outside, instruments may listen for faint shapes and find them ordinary. Inside, the ordinary is beautiful enough to be sleep. If sleep arrives now, let it lay over you like a soft, exact blanket. If it waits, we will keep company with the long, simple exit of the breath until waiting becomes gone, and night turns into one smooth piece that does not need a name. Let the night deepen by one quiet shade, like ink settling evenly across a page. If it feels easy, begin with a single familiar cycle. Breathe in for 4, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out for 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let the last inch of the out-breath coast on its own, as if the page were turning without your hand. On this page, there is less to do and more to be held. The room knows how to hold you. The bed knows. The breath knows. If a thought appears at the edge of attention, let it be a distant buoy, useful if you need it, quiet if you don't. Buoys mark safe water. They do not steer ships. You do not need steering now. You are already in the harbor. The tide rises beneath you without asking for effort, and with each long exhale the hull meets the water more fully, more simply, with less and less to explain. A soft inventory, lighter than a whisper. Crown quiet, forehead smooth, between the brows opened by a breath, eyelids weighted, eyes adrift, cheeks warm, lips unbusy, tongue at rest, jaw hinges idle, throat a still corridor, collarbones without task, shoulders lower, upper arms surrendered, elbows present, forearms warm, wrists unclasped, palms heavy, fingers counted and dismissed, chest low swell, ribs riding, upper back arrived, mid back arrived, low back fully set down, belly soft, hips anchored, thighs long, knees unlatched, shins quiet, ankles quiet, feet already ahead in sleep's hallway, holding the door. If any small watchfulness remains, give it a place to rest: an armchair by an imagined window, a folded blanket, a note on the table that reads, "Nothing urgent." Watchfulness often relaxes when it feels expected and provided for. Gravity and warmth will keep the house. Breath will walk the slow rounds, pausing at each doorway, listening for nothing, finding it, moving on. Somewhere far away, a console glows at its dimmest. The line on the screen is flat, not because life has ended, but because the background is steady. The operator types, "Nominal night." That is the phrase the body hears now. Nominal night for the heart. Nominal night for muscles. Nominal night for thoughts that do not need to report. You can borrow the operator's posture: shoulders down, jaw easy, breath longer on the way out, and return to the simple task of being carried. A small cue, if welcome. In for 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out for 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then let counting fade like chalk under a slow rain. Counting is useful to arrive here. It does not need to follow you in. Let contact become one plane again, back of head to shoulders, shoulders to ribs, ribs to pelvis, pelvis to thighs, thighs to calves, calves to heels. Where there were islands, there is now a continent. You are its unhurried center. Cities on plains dim their lights toward midnight. Fountains slow, streets empty. Your body follows that municipal wisdom. Systems idle, timers flip. The chemistry of night moves in like weather inevitable. Correct, gentle. If an image of Mars returns, place it as a small banked ember on a far shelf. Embers keep their warmth without asking anyone to watch them. You may cover even that with a dark cloth the length of an exhale and let it glow only as feeling, not as sight. Feeling belongs to the inner rooms where sleep lives. Sight lives at the windows, and the windows are closed. We will walk a last microscan from ground to sky, only to notice how little remains to be done. Soles cool, heels nested, calves empty of script, knees retired, thighs heavy in a kind way, hips, stones in a riverbed the river has left. Low belly moving on its own, ribs quiet hinges, sternum floating, collarbones beams at rest, throat open enough, jaw released, lips uninvolved, cheeks warm, eyes heavy, forehead unfurrowed, crown aware of nothing it needs to keep. The list dissolves as soon as it forms. That is the point. If language thins to tone, let it. Tone is the gentlest instrument. Low, slow, forgiving the body understands those shapes without explanation. Lullabies work in this way. The meaning leaves first, the sway remains. Let the sway remain. In, a small rise. Out, a longer glide. Again, fewer words, more space. Space is the cradle. Should a plan try to start its first sentence, "Tomorrow I will," let the sentence drift into an ellipsis that becomes the length of your outbreath. Ellipses are pillows. Plans can sleep on them. Morning knows where to find its papers. You do not keep the office key at night. If position wants to change, move like a constellation changing over centuries almost imperceptible, then still again. A centimeter of pillow, a breath width of shoulder, a degree of tilt at the pelvis, then quiet. Quiet teaches the older parts of the brain that nothing is hunting, nothing is urgent, nothing is required. Those parts listen to evidence, not arguments. Your evidence is darkness, warmth, evenness, and the long, patient exhale. Offer one final measured cycle, only if it feels kind, in for 4, 2, 3, 4, and out for 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Notice how the last seconds of the outbreath feel like coasting to a stop at the exact curb. No break, just arrival. Arrival happens by itself when effort leaves the room. Now imagine night as a lake without wind. The surface holds the shape of the sky perfectly. You lie on a small dock that does not creak. Under you, the wood is warm from the day. Above you, darkness is the right temperature of quiet. Each breath sends a tiny ripple you cannot hear, and somewhere far along the shore, a single cricket keeps time. This is not a scene you have to keep. It keeps you. A final checklist that completes itself. Eyes heavy, jaw loose, shoulders low, hands warm, belly soft, hips settled, legs quiet, feet gone. If any item lingers, let it linger. Linger is a night word. Linger means no hurry and then none. From here, the voice dims as lanterns do when someone carries them away first. A room away, then a hallway, then a hill. What remains is the ordinary music of a safe room, the bed holding, the breath holding, the body remembering. Outside, questions continue their quiet orbit. Inside, answers pause their work and set their tools down. There is nothing to fix, nothing to finish, nothing to fear. Only the simple permission that sleep requires. Long out, breaths, low light, and time. If sleep comes now, let it arrive without ceremony, like a door that closes itself with perfect alignment. If it waits, stay with the long exhale and the widening spaces between words until the dimmer slides to black and the night becomes one smooth piece. Either way, you are already almost across. Either way, you are carried,